What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome on in to the Brass Ring Media Podcast for Thursday, July 10th, 2025. How's it going? I'm your host, Zach Haydorn. I'm pumped to be here. Tyler Sage, right there. He's going to be here in a minute. Going to be here in a quick second. Some day job stuff for him, running a little bit behind, but I'm sure glad to be here. I'm bummed that I missed the Tuesday show. Yeah, everyone's asking, where's Tyler? Tyler is here, or he will be here. He's not here right now, but he will be here, Zach. He'll be here. Just bummed that I had to miss Tuesday's show, but I'm glad to be here today because, goodness gracious, there is a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to get to. There's a whole mess of pro wrestling happening in the next, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Goodness gracious, it's a lot. But that's why we're here. And it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun, too, at the exact same time. So pumped to be here with you guys. We got the chat already rolling. Zach is in there. Tracy says, happy Thursday. What's going on, Tracy? Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate it. Happy Thursday to you, too. Zach asks, are you going to All In, Zach? No, I'm not making it. I'm not making it this time. It stinks. But no, not this time. We do have some folks from Sports Illustrated that are headed down there, and some folks from Sports Illustrated that are headed to Atlanta. So we'll have I'll have some access to some on the ground coverage that hopefully we can relay to you guys or to our members. But I will not be there. It's kind of a bummer though. I'm really bummed out. I've never been to Globe Life Field. I've been to Dallas, but I've never been to Globe Life Field, and it looks like one heck of a venue for this. I think personally, AEW All In, that is just going to look gorgeous. I mean, in the afternoon, I mean, if you've ever seen Globe Life Field, it has kind of like open kind of windows on its side and on its top. So it's going to get a ton of natural light in there. And I just think with 25,000 people or however many they're going to get in, like it's going to be a spectacle for sure. Joshua White says, Sports Illustrated, that pissant magazine. I mean, we're not a magazine anymore. You know, we're a digital content provider. Oh my gosh, I love saying that. But thank you all for being here. This is the Brass Ring Media Podcast. We are live with this show 2 times a week right here on the Brass Ring Media YouTube channel. Tuesdays and Thursdays. Usually Tuesday is a WWE focused kind of show, and Thursday is an AEW focused kind of show. We will be majority AEW today because we are going to preview the All In pay-per-view start to finish. And it only has 8 matches this time. How cool is that? Now, that probably means Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada is going to go an hour and 15 minutes. But you don't know that. We don't know that. So we'll take it. 8 matches. Thank you for being here. If you have not subscribed to our channel yet, please do that. Hit subscribe right now, right there. You can help us out a lot by hitting like on the video as well. We do appreciate it. We've got content dropping on this channel all throughout the week. We've got this show twice a week. We've got Nocturnal Knockout. We've got the Kick-Ash podcast, Daily Wrestling Hotline from Dominic D'Angelo, and way more stuff, including tomorrow. On this channel, super excited to announce that Dominic D'Angelo will have an exclusive interview with Mark Briscoe ahead of All In. He will be talking to us here at Brass Ring Media. That will drop sometime tomorrow afternoon. So for you guys to catch right before All In on Friday. So it's going to be an awesome interview. I know Dominic has done just a ton of work to try to make sure that this is just a top-notch interview. Joshua says you're a little talk with Mark. Yes. And Mark's awesome. So I'm really pumped to hear from him ahead of All In, hear about his his kind of the last couple of years of his career, which have been obviously just flipped upside down, with everything that happened with his brother. But he's a really good interview. So I'm excited for sure to have that drop. So you can check that out here tomorrow. But the long story short is definitely hit subscribe so you don't miss any of that stuff. Everything that airs live here on the Brass Ring Media YouTube channel, you can find on the Brass Ring Media podcast feed. So if you want to take us on the go, on the run, you absolutely can. Just download us wherever you get your podcast, search Brass Ring Media, and we will be there. And all will be well. Finally, if there's ever a week to try Brass Ring Media membership, this is seriously the week to do it. I mean, usually I say that for WrestleMania, and WrestleMania is a great time to do it. Well, any time is a good time to do it, but WrestleMania, always good. Lots of member-only content, lots of shows. Well, fast forward to the weekend of July 12th, we got a lot of shows, which means we are going to be doing a lot of member-only reviews. We do our show reviews for members exclusively. And so this weekend, we will have one up for AEW All In. We'll have one up for Evolution. I'm going to do one for the Great American Bash as well. And maybe, just maybe, Saturday Night's Main Event too. So moral of the story, if you want to get all those, this is the time to become a Brass Ring Media member. You can do that on Patreon. Patreon.com/Brass Ring Media. It's only $4. $4 to get access to all of what we do for our members. Definitely give us a shot. Patreon.com/Brass Ring Media. We cover this business the right way. And you get access to all of our pay-per-view and PLE review shows. You get access to a special member-only show once a week, which Tyler and I are going to record a little bit later today. You get access to our Discord community where all of our members come together to hang out and talk wrestling and talk life and sports and movies and music. It's a great time. So don't miss out. Patreon.com/Brass Ring Media. You can also, if you just want the specialty shows and you're a YouTube exclusive user, you can hit subscribe right here on YouTube right now. Just click subscribe right there and you'll get all those shows, the member only shows as well. So thank you. Also, big thanks to our Brass Ring Media Gold members, Sean Palikta, Adam Kidd. We appreciate both of you. Sean is in the chat right now and says here, pumped to listen to it all. Yeah, Sean, thank you. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for being here. Also, we have Maria, who's jumping in saying, hello. What's up, everyone? Maria says, hey, Maria, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate it. Glad you're able to join us. Live. Zach, I saw your chat about being in the building for All In. That is pretty cool. Pretty cool, my friend. That's going to be one heck of a show, one heck of a memory, I think there could be, lots of moments, on that show that you'll take away, and that could be, signature moments for AEW as a company, moving forward. I mean, that's kind of an exciting part of this show this weekend. It's not just the fact that it's a big pay-per-view and there's some big matches, but All In is kind of like, it's kind of like what the company has been building towards since last October. When Jon Moxley became the AEW World Champion, he beat Bryan Danielson, he turns heel, right? That set this all into motion. And I think because AEW had this show to build towards, right? Like it had this show to point at, like all the booking just got to go right directly at this big All In event. And I think it needed that. I think the company needed like a big focus in one specific direction. It's not unlike WrestleMania for WWE, where that WWE is going to really aim towards WrestleMania to WrestleMania to WrestleMania. And yes, that doesn't mean there's not big shows in between. There's SummerSlam, there's the Royal Rumble, but really you have those WrestleManias that are kind of like your benchmark. That's what you build towards. And I think AEW tried to have that with the All-Ins, but you got to have the one signature show, especially when you have an episodic television show weekly. You got to have it build towards something. And I think this really showcases how important that is. Derek Hubbard in the chat, and I've been on this bandwagon for a long time. Derek Hubbard says here, the Mox title reign has not worked for me, and it has been heavily criticized, but I do commend them for staying the course for a big moment. Page feels like the right guy to beat Moxley. That's just it, man. I totally agree with you on this. I 100% agree with you on this. And I see Tyler working his way into the show here. He's working. It's loading. There we go. Oh, there he is. What's up, Tyler?
Hello.
Welcome to your AEW All In preview show.
It's mine. Wow.
That's impressive. It's all you.
I'm all in, all Tyler. All in.
We're talking about kind of high level All In here as far as like what it's meant from it hasn't happened yet, obviously, but to me, I think it's been a really important show for AEW to have on the calendar. I think like between being able to use that as a potential endpoint for a heel champion run, like Jon Moxley, but not just that. I mean, you just kind of had this big show looming in the distance that all the storylines could point at. And I think that helped organize the booking. I think it helped organize the creative. I think it helped organize Tony Khan's brain in terms of just like, what does he want to put on and what's important and what's not. This show to me defined all of that, or helped define all of that. Over to you, kind of on your bigger picture All In thoughts. And then I'm going to get back to your point real quick here, Derek, in a minute about Moxley.
Yeah, a better podcaster than me would have come up with the comparison of like what this is in relations. You know, obviously WWE has 41 of these events under their belt, and this is the third one for AEW, right?
Yep, third one.
So, you know, is this WrestleMania 3 for AEW? I don't think so. It feels more like WrestleMania 13, sort of like potential, where it's like we're crossing some sort of positivity Rubicon with this show. And, you know, like if you took last night's Dynamite and, I don't know, you just dropped in the middle of a build to.
Hey, keep talking. I got to answer this this phone call. So it's all
okay. Cool. It's one of those things where if you drop this Dynamite into a random AEW Full Gear whatever lineup, I think it's like a totally okay show, and we feel pretty good about it. We know the show's going to be good, etc. But with how big this show is from where the company's put it in perspective, maybe not ticket sale wise, but officially dubbing this the biggest show of the year without saying it, but saying it. It feels like a pivot point show for AEW in a positive way of you kind of dig yourself out of the crap of everything post Brawl Out. After that, it feels like this is like a new company and on the trajectory post this event, if things go in a certain way, a couple of different ways, which I think they will, then yeah, it's one of those things where it's just, it feels high level. I forget even what the actual question was that Zach just asked me because I was rambling here, but it feels like a very important show, and it feels like they're making the most of it. It feels like a pivotal point in the history of the company creatively, for a company that's stable financially and has, in modern wrestling terms, strong enough basis of support, ratings wise, etc. It feels like it's kind of the last piece to solidify AEW in a post-pandemic, post-brand new thing, post-shiny new object, as a real company that, whether you're an overzealous lover of it, like some people would say I would be sometimes, versus someone who maybe is a WWE first person or thinks that it's mud show wrestling, etc. That you'd have to, at the end of this show, have to respect AEW for whether it might not even be your type of thing. That you have to respect what the company is and does and stands for, and gives opportunity to people, and gives people chances to do reclamation projects, etc. So yeah, that's kind of where I am with that. I'm not sure what Zach talked about before that, if it matched that, if it was that wax poetic, if it was better than that. But it's good to be here, good to be in the chat. I see Adam joined, talking about the big moment of truth for Adam Kidd in the chat to tell us we're all wrong if it goes the wrong way, for sure. So let's get in here. Because Adam says, as he's been saying for a long time, if Tony fumbles the main event, I will scream at Clouds and Zach. And that's Zach Barber in the chat. Sean, another gold member, says I like AEW for sure. I know he corrected this later on, but I do think we need to be critical if need be, for sure. And that's on the main event and on a couple of other major things that are going on. So I also like AEW Root Beer too. So I think none of those is either a bad thing as well. Zach.
I'm back.
I'll pop out.
I'm back. We got to get this switched out. So Tyler, when you think of All In, what kind of show can this be for AEW this year?
Yeah.
You mentioned WrestleMania 13, and obviously that's a big turning point moment for a lot of reasons for WWE. I think if this if this show has that type of impact, I mean, it will be it'll go down as one of the biggest shows and most important shows in company history.
Yeah. So audience of one, answer for you, since I just did this for everybody else, so I'll make it quick. But and you're frozen. It looks like where I'm frozen. So oh no, you're back. Okay. Is that this is a turning point of post-pandemic AEW, of post-brawl out AEW. This is like the creative pivot point of, no matter if you're the biggest lover of the company or the biggest hater of the company, if things go right, I think this is where you pivot and say, like, hey, this is a viable long-term number 2 option of a different type of professional wrestling that can survive out here in the open. So just like playing the flag of the AEW is here to stay long-term creatively. Obviously, it's got to find safe financial and partner basis, but this would be like the creative pole for this company to stand on, as you can see with like the stories they're already telling post All In as well, based on last night's episode.
Very true. All right, we're gonna go through and we're gonna preview this whole card, and we're gonna, I think we're gonna work it so that we can give the big matches the time that they need, and some of the other matches, we'll kind of just run through with a little bit, less analysis given their importance. But want to hear your guys' thoughts. So the live chat is up and rolling. So thank you. We got Adam Kidd, one of our gold members, in there saying post All Out has been the problem. Yeah, that event has not been great for that company. So yeah. And the boss says here, Zach, did you ever get the Starbucks endorsement? I didn't, not yet. I'm still working on it. But look at this. Come on, tell me that's not worth some sponsorship dollars. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Got my instant coffee. You can probably see it up there on the shelf. I got my Nestea from Aldi coffee. So
look at that.
We are not the same.
We're not the same, but we still want the sponsorship. I mean, I don't think you'd turn down a Starbucks sponsorship.
No, definitely not.
Even if it meant you had to drink Starbucks coffee.
Yeah, I mean, Pikes Peak, we will not talk about. I think that is like absolute swill, burnt swill. But I do like a latte, the softest mouthfeel of any like chain latte you can get. So they can use that in a radio spot.
You're welcome, Starbucks. You're welcome. All right, let's get into the match by match of this, and let's just start with the main event because I think that's obviously a huge talking point. It's Adam Page against Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship, a Texas death match. Page earning this opportunity at the title by winning this year's Owen Hart Cup tournament on the men's side. And now he gets a chance to become AEW World Champion for the second time in his career. I think you have to credit Jon Moxley for some of this, for some of the success that this company has had creatively. It starts with having a strong world champion that people want to see get beat. And I think that in 2025, I think that the process of developing that just has to be a little more annoying than it did 20 years ago, because heels can be so cool and they can be so well liked by fans nowadays that like you almost have to give it this kind of relentless annoyance to those heel title reigns in order to make them last a long time. I think that it's not an accident that you saw some of the creative issues with this company start getting ironed out once Moxley was firmly at the top. Now, that doesn't mean everything he was in was good. It certainly doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean the main event matches that he's had were all good. But I think it's been a very big positive for the company to kind of just define that tip-top spot, world champion on the men's side, as kind of this unbeatable guy, regardless of how he's unbeatable. But he has been up until this point. I think that decision on the part of Tony Khan, you got to give him some credit for that and for staying the course, like Derek said a little bit earlier. I also think that you got to give Tony Khan credit for pivoting over to Adam Page in this instance. Like, I don't have news on this, obviously. Like, I don't know. I'm not reporting anything here, but it seemed like this slot was carved out for Will Ospreay to be in a handful of months ago, not all that long ago. But Adam Page caught fire again, at some point, late last year, early this year, he caught fire. And to me, a good booker sees that and can pivot. And I think if that's what Tony Khan did here, I think that's the right call, because I think this is the right match. And I think it's been built the right way. You have Moxley just running down Page for being too in his head, not being able to go where he needs to go to win. And now you have this mountain for Adam Page to climb. So talk about this match just collectively, and then we'll get into like the machinations of how we see it actually going. But I just think this is a great main event for the show, and it's two of your top guys. It's a guy that's clearly going to get cheered over the other. The battle lines are drawn. There's no ambiguity about who should win, who should lose. Everybody's on Page's side. That's what you want here.
Yeah. Let's start from the beginning where you went, Jon Moxley.
Yeah. Start with that.
On a curve, this is a curve in the pro wrestling analysis, to go from something I thought was like utterly detrimental to the company at one point. And there was one point on here where I said, like, if Swerve did not defeat Jon Moxley at Full Gear Revolution.
Revolution.
That I would like, it'd be like DEFCON 1 creative emergency for the company, right? To get to the point where I tend to agree with you on where we are currently, that he's a classic wrestling heel that you want to see get beat. Whoever beats him is elevated tremendously. It elevates the company. It changes the trajectory of the company. All of that, like staying the course, is not something I would have trusted Tony Khan to do a year and a half ago, 6 months ago. So it shows like a maturity and a booking standpoint, whether I've loved the journey or not. Like last night, did I love that storytelling per se? I mean, I didn't hate it, but I thought like if you drop this episode of Dynamite another place in time, we both would have been like, oh yeah, that was a fine episode of Dynamite. That's a place to write home about. But everything else around it has bolstered it. But I don't want to just give a total like get out of jail free card on what this is and has been. You know, and you're not saying this either, so I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I do think there's going to be a cohort of people talking about how this is like one of the best stories, long-term stories told in AEW history and all that. And it's just like it's like a fine story, but Moxley and the Death Riders, I think ending at this point or pivoting at this point is where it needs to be. They've gotten there and it's been fine, but I don't want it to be like people saying it's the greatest thing that's ever happened. On the Adam Page stuff, very interesting. I still contend. I mean, obviously, I agree with you. I don't know what happened, but it still feels like Will Ospreay in the spot is a bigger match for a bigger show. One thing it does, though, for sure, is it does not absolutely tip-top super guarantee the result as a Will Ospreay Jon Moxley match does. I do think we know what happens here, but there is that possibility of other things happening, and Adam Page is more of a likely, like, hey, he could lose to Jon Moxley and this could continue sort of story. So I do like that to not totally dictate what your main event is. Same thing with Page and Ospreay and Page winning. This whole story has been not exactly what I would have guessed point for point, and that's like a lot of very early AEW. I mean, the main event, you could, I mean, with 100% certainty, guess every main event in AEW until this year, honestly. And that reminded me a lot of late stage Ring of Honor. I covered that pretty intensely, and that was always my biggest complaint about Ring of Honor booking, was that it was just always so obvious where they were doing with the main event and with that title. So I think that changing a lot is a good reason for Hangman to be in the spot and to be the potential third multi-time champion is nothing to sneeze at in a company that's been around for 6 years. But yeah, those like broad level, that's how I feel about the two going into it. I think they've done just enough, kind of like the Mercedes, and not to step on that match as well, Mercedes and Tony match. Besides the addition of the Texas Deathmatch stip, this has kind of been ready to go since Page won that opportunity, and that's been like my only detraction on Dynamite since. But I've liked the build to every other match besides those two world title matches. Yeah. Even I've thought the build to, we'll talk about it, but I've liked the build for everything and focusing on that instead of this. So that'd be my only like negative feedback, but I'm ready for it. I'm glad last night I forgot that a Texas Deathmatch you have to win via submission or knockout. I forgot that was a step. So that's interesting. I never remember, did they all end in not in submissions? I can't remember. Is a knockout just a 10 count?
So that's what I don't think they like. This was the next topic I was going to talk about. So put a pin in this really quick. I want to go to the chat here for a little while. Sean says, I don't think he's been super strong, he being Moxley. His promos have felt the same for the last month, and him saying that Hangman won't go till the death is so weird. We've got Adam Kidd, who says Page Mox will be a violent, bloody, overbooked show. Whether it's good or bad depends on the results. Okay, see what you guys are saying there. Adam also says here, I think taking the title off Swerve to give Danielson a victory lap was a mistake. Yeah, that does look pretty bad in retrospect. Go ahead, Tyler.
No, I agree. I'm glad you brought that up. That was definitely, I mean, we talked about that when it happened. Yeah. I think that's also been like, just so you know, that was it April of 24. It's Swerve defeating Samoa Joe and then Danielson Ospreay as being like the beginning of this like version of AEW. Mm-hmm. Probably shows itself in that show of like, wow, this is really, we can really cook with some of these people here. And then that whole Danielson farewell tour, Mox thing definitely seemed like it was a step back for a period of time. And now we're kind of back to that spot.
Yeah, no, yep, I agree with you on that. I think you're right, Adam. I think you're right, guys. If you want to get in on this conversation, you can, of course, with the live chat. Super chats are open as well. If you want to ask a question or make a comment, and you are not a gold member, please do with the super chat. We appreciate it. Any contribution helps in that regard. So, okay, back to the stipulation. I almost wish that you could just do a Texas death match without having to win one of those two ways, because call me old school, but I just feel like the 1, 2, 3 crowd pop is important, like for a major show like this. Like imagine if, whatever, Austin beat Rock, and it was just kind of like he knocked him out, and then like the crowd pops, but depending on where you were sitting, can you hear the bell? Like it doesn't have that collective like 1, 2, 3, bam, he's the champion. So I'm gonna miss that here with this. I'm gonna miss them just doing the pin, 1, 2, 3, big pop victory for Adam Page. I think there's value in that. Now, it doesn't mean it's not gonna be a good match. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be a really good reaction, but I think that there is something to be said for the old school 1, 2, 3, crown the new champion definitively with a pinfall in the middle of the ring. Now, I don't think that they articulated well enough how you actually win this match. So I think they kind of briefly mentioned it, but I don't think it's clear enough going in. So hopefully Collision tonight, they can, and whatever kind of preview stuff that they do for this on social media or website can iron that out. But I think it's a step too far as just missing out on kind of this definitive bam, bam, bam moment. I'm going to miss that. Over to you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and as Joshua says here in the chat, it could be just the storytelling mechanism of the way they laid it out.
Yeah.
Of like Moxley saying like, did he say like, you won't die for this, I will? He didn't say that, or else my radar would be up and I'd be the first thing out. You know me.
He didn't say that, right?
Yeah, which is good. Yeah. But like, if he's like, hey, I'll do anything for this. I'm better than the best in the world. And he taps out. That's like the way to really start derailing that character into the slow process of him being a babyface once more. And him tapping out in this big moment would be soul crushing for him and that character. So maybe they're just setting that up because that can still be pretty effective. And, I guess philosophically, if you want to have like a submission end a show, like has a submission ever ended a WrestleMania, I'd seriously doubt it, right?
Daniel Bryan.
Okay. On 30? Did he tap out? He tapped out.
He tapped out. Yep.
Okay. So there you go. I'm sure Danielson's part of creative on this, if that's the case. So, but yeah, besides that one off, and it's a differentiator between the companies. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot there, and we're gonna talk about the match itself too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Talk about the match itself. Let me go to Tracy here real quick, who has a super chat. Tracy says, and thank you so much, Tracy. Appreciate it. Tracy says your submission has more story power. It's 3 seconds versus I give up. Hard to argue with that. I mean, yeah, I think that there's an artistry to like just the rhythm and drama of a 1, 2, 3. But yes, from a storyline perspective, I mean, you definitely have, if it's sold right on commentary, which I think you'd agree with, if it's positioned right with the right context, there is a definitive like, dude, you beat that guy up so bad that he gave up.
Mm-hmm.
That counts too. So yeah. I can't disagree with that, Tracy.
Or if you do some sort of crazy, like, buckshot after a ton of crazy stuff happened and Moxley like falls over dead and the ref just calls it, like waves his arms and he just like looks like he is dead. It's pretty powerful too.
That works too. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Tracy. Appreciate it. Tyler, what do you think happens here? How does the match go? How do they lay this thing out? And who wins?
Hope you got the comments ready to go because there are some really good ones that I agree with. I would say I don't know if I'm the biggest opponent of WrestleMania 40's main event,
No, I would say that you're definitely not the biggest proponent.
Yeah. Like, am I the biggest hater though? Either I don't know. Maybe I am, but I didn't like it in the moment. I still don't like it now. I know it's some people's favorite matches of all time, so that's like a big difference. But I do think this goes somewhat similar to that, which I don't love. And I want to make sure I'm intellectually honest with that when it happens. I'll just let you know how I feel in the moment if it works better for me. That story was a year in the making. And I guess that's the reason why you could say it worked for me. I wanted it to be more of a Cody moment if I was going to do that. Also, just not a huge Cody person in general. So that probably didn't help my personal take on it as well. But I see something like that. Like I wrote down a bunch of names, right? So of these 5, a lot could happen here. A lot of these guys could be in the Gauntlet Battle Royal, whatever. But I wrote down 5 names. Let me know if you have any more. This is for the good guy team. I got Darby, I got Eddie Kingston, I got Cope, I got Orange Cassidy, and I got Bryan Danielson.
Okay.
Do you have anyone else that's like a potential come in and even the odds against
Let me write this down. Who do you have so far?
So I got Darby, Eddie Kingston, Cope, Orange Cassidy, Bryan Danielson.
Well, I mean, outside of Swerve and Will Ospreay.
Yeah. But so these are the people who have not been on TV.
Okay.
For a significant amount of time, it would be a big pop for when they appear in the moment. Those are your John Cena. Those are your who else appeared?
Jay, John Cena, Undertaker.
Yeah, this is like your Cena Undertaker people.
Maybe the only people that I would maybe add to that is Sting, because of the Darby factor. And I think I would argue Eddie Kingston, because he's got like a history with Mox, yes, but not since the Death Rider thing happened. I mean, he's been gone since before that. So
that's why, like, he in the moment he could be like a flex guy who seems to be like out there to support Moxley, and it's like, no, you're a POS, and that's like Moxley's first feud post losing.
No, I can't think of anybody else though.
Yeah.
I think you've got it.
Yeah. So not all of them. I think like Darby will probably be in the Gauntlet and then won't appear here, etc. Cope might do something with Christian if that happens, right? So there's like a lot of, I think at least 3 of those 5 will probably be on the show at some point. But I don't know if they'll all be in this match. So just like look out for that stuff and think of what they do and interact in that moment. But I do think it won't be like a straightforward, obviously not going to be a carbon copy. If it is, I think that's a horrible decision of that. It's more of a probably like whatever. If this is 30 minutes, it's 20 minutes of pretty much straight up death match wrestling between these 2 guys. 7 minutes of like crazy interference everywhere. And then 3 minutes where we like kind of re-ground back to these 2 in the ring. The dust is settled. Hangman wins in a pretty traditional way. It's kind of how I would go with that.
You're stealing my thunder, bro.
Sorry.
That's exactly how this has to go. Like, you can do the Avengers Assemble finish if you want to. I mean, you certainly have earned it. I'm not going to sit here and say that you haven't earned it. There's a lot of history. There's a lot of guys around this Moxley thing. It makes sense. So if you want to play that card, you can. But you have to do it differently than the WWE did at WrestleMania 40. I'm like adamant about this point. Like, you cannot just have it be, this is the AEW WrestleMania 40 moment. For one thing, like that was a long time ago. That's over a year ago now. And you don't want to look like you're a year behind and you're just kind of, just copying something else that got over pretty well for most people. Wink, wink. Like, you got to put your own twist on it. And I think the twist to put on it is exactly what you said. You can do these run-ins. You can have, people come out and help Adam Page, and maybe it's even Swerve, the last guy to come out, and he, helps Page battle away some of the Death Riders or what have you. But then you got to get it back to Page. You got to get it back to Page, and you got to get it back to Mox. And like, I would not be upset if they did all these run-ins and then Mox and Page got another like 5-6 minutes like in the ring just to do their thing, and Page wins with the buckshot, and that's that. That to me is a good way to make this match stand out Avengers style than WrestleMania 40. And also, I think it's just better. Like, I think if WrestleMania 40 would have added a little bit more integrity in that regard and would have given Roman and Cody more time for it to just be Roman and Cody after the run-ins and not just go directly from Undertaker chokeslam to, Crossroads and finish. I think that lands a little bit better for you. And even though I liked it, I think it lands better for me too. If you give it that time to breathe and like a quick reminder that, this still is Adam Page's crowning moment. This is not the Avengers didn't win the tag title or the world title here. Adam Page did. He did. He's the winner. He's the champion. And I think you want to remember that going into this. So I agree with you wholeheartedly on that point. And I think Adam Page does win too. I mean, you picked Page, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like 80% sure, which is good. That's kind of where I want to be watching pro wrestling. Of like, and I'm not like, it's not the end of the world if he doesn't win. I mean, if it's like Darby wins the next pay-per-view, then like it is like, okay, then I gave I gave Tony too much credit creatively, but I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be surprised if that's the way they're going. We'll talk about the rest of the show, but the great thing about this match is so many other men's matches on the card are leading up to this as a main event, which is like in pro wrestling for most of its history, just like UFC, right? There's kind of like, hey, here's this match, here's another match, here's another match. But like, wrestling is narrative. So like to actually be able to tie a lot of those stories and weave them to like build your anticipation of the main event based on, hey, like if Swerve loses and is super pissed and can't win that title, is he really going to help Adam Page in that moment after they've lost that match?
Right.
If, whatever, there's lots of other stuff that can happen here. Like if someone else is like negatively affected on the show, I wouldn't expect them to come and help Page. So does he have less arrows in the quiver, or do they step up and become true baby faces and still help him win to do the right thing? Like all that sort of stuff is, I think interesting and hard. Like you would think would happen more in pro wrestling, but it's a hard needle to thread for sure.
Definitely it's hard to do that. I mean, it's definitely not easy to create that moment. And it's even harder to like have the moment and then execute on it in a perfect way. Like even the last Adam Page title reign, when he won the title, they kind of got there, and then it kind of just wasn't as hot as you'd want it to be. Like when it happened, it's a little bit too late. And there are a lot of things that went into that, and I think the weird Young Bucks look finish didn't work either. Like in terms of like that definitive crowning moment. So you got to be able to execute on it, even when you have it sitting there for you. And that's what's at stake here. That's what's at stake here. Let's see. Sports Talk with Austin says here, I hope Hangman wins, but I think Mox wins. Darby wins the Battle Royal and beats Mox. So this is going to spur some debate, and it has. Sean says here, I do not want Darby winning the world title. He just isn't on that level. Yeah, and Sports Talk, I'm in the same boat on this. Like Darby at one time, maybe you could have argued that he was, getting popular enough to be that character. But this guy hasn't been on TV in months and months and months, and the situation changed. I mean, you have your core guys, and he's not one of them at this point right now today because he's not there. And it's not a knock on Darby. It's just he's not there right now. And so I think if you were in a situation where nobody else was over and the Pace thing wasn't working and Will Ospreay was injured or something to that effect, all right, then maybe you want to look at Darby. But right now, when you've got Paige humming like he is and you've got an Ospreay doing what he's doing, Swerve's doing, like you have guys in that spot that are more over than him. And I just think that if they go that route and they do Mox winning, all right, I mean, in the moment, we got to see how it happens in order to grade it one way or the other. But you also have to grade it with, okay, so Paige didn't beat Mox, so who does? So we have to kind of wait and see on it. But man, they would have a steep hill to climb for me if Mox retains here, regardless of what comes next.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I fully expect, to spoil the other matches here, I fully expect Darby to come back and win that Battle Royal.
Oh, interesting. All right, I got a different pick for that.
And the Young Bucks to win their match against Ospreay and Swerve.
I got another pick for that too.
Yeah,
all right.
So, and then that sets up like absolute complete meta dread in the main event, which ups the stakes for everybody because it's got to be Page that wins. And if Moxley does win, which is still like an 80, I would still have my 80-20 ratio there.
Right, you still get your 20%.
Yeah. I think I think Mox beats Darby at that point, and then if you have that, Page loses, Darby loses, and you have Ospreay and Swerve who can't compete for that thing, you're in like a total like what? Like this is like totally been thrown on its head. I don't know who comes out of that. I mean, I think there's names you can obviously come up with, but it would take away all the fan favorites, and it like really creates that Moxley thing. And do I think this would be a good way to go? No, but I can see it being a way that Tony decides to go in a small sliver of possibilities of having Moxley continue this thing for a minute after this, and it being even more cathartic for someone else to take it off of him at some point. But I still think that's not happening, but I do think that build-up happens. And so either way, I don't think Darby winning that title is in the books and shouldn't be. He's just not, he can win the TNT title from Kyle Fletcher, and Kyle Fletcher needs to move up the card, but that's about it.
Look, here's the thing. When you could Moxley retain here? Sure. I mean, yes. And I think you can convince yourself as a fan or as a booker that it's a good idea, right? I mean, you could. I can make the argument.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's just because you can make the argument doesn't mean it's a good one. It doesn't mean it's a good argument. And to me, sometimes you got to give fans that follow you like the big moment, like the story book ending. That's part of professional wrestling. There's time for heat and there's a time for victory. And you got to know when to pull those levers. And I just think this is the time to pull the victory lever. Like, it's why so many WrestleManias end on a positive note, because that's the kind of show that it is. And I think this is the kind of show you want that to be. At least this year, that's this show. That there's a moment to be had on the biggest stage that you've ever had in North America. Adam Page opening up the briefcase, taking out the title belt again, and holding it up high as fireworks go off behind it. Like, that's what you want, I think, in this case. And you can be cute about it, but sometimes in pro wrestling, I would argue most of the time in pro wrestling, the simple choice is the best choice. And in this case, that is the best and most simple choice. Give him the win. That's how this should go.
There are two more names. One's been in the chat. I think more for that match, and we'll talk about him. But for maybe the heel side, potentially, of coming in and screwing over, you have Jungle Boy.
Jungle Boy, yeah.
Obviously, way more likely in that Bucks match to appear. And the one name I haven't seen in the chat at all, but just popped up randomly in my head, Chris Jericho. Like, if he came in and screwed Adam Page over, I mean, that's like incredible heat and like probably not good. Like, or would he help Adam Page in the last moment and get like super over? And that's like the only way to get him over. I don't even know if that would get him over in AEW, but just another name of people we haven't seen very recently on TV.
Yeah. All right. That's the world title on the men's side. Let's go to the women's side. Toni Storm defending against Mercedes Moné. Just like Adam Page, Moné winning the Owen Hart Cup tournament on the women's side and getting this opportunity. She's also the TBS champion and a multitude of other champions. She's got 1 million belts. I gotta say, I have been a little bit disappointed in this feud. I think it's had its moments, of praise where you're like, okay, that was pretty good. Some of the Mercedes Moné beatdowns on Storm were good. But then you also had a lot of curious moments of like, all right, what are they doing? Why are they smelling each other's necks? And why are they, why is there this like kind of flirtatious talk a little bit between them. And where I kind of landed on in terms of when I was making notes for this was, I don't think that Storm and Monet have much chemistry at this point in time. Like, I just don't think that their characters have been able to play off each other all that well. This doesn't seem to me, it's a big match, and I think it's going to be a really good match, like once it's in the ring, but it doesn't seem like this, big Rock Austin moment of your two top stars in the women's division. That's what it is, but I don't think it has that kind of drama or aura like draping over it right now. And again, I just kind of blame the chemistry on that. I just don't. There's just been a little bit of tone that hasn't been struck between the two, and I think it hasn't landed as good as you'd want it to land. That said, nobody's betting against Mercedes Moné in the ring, and I think that this has a chance to be, one of the best matches on the show, and certainly one of the best women's matches of the year. And I think you trust Monet and Toni Storm to do that. I think Monet wins this match. If you have your sights set on potentially doing rematches here, I think it makes sense for the heel to win. You keep that Mercedes Monet character really, really strong until someone else beats her. I mean, you have equity in her now, where if somebody up and coming gets a win over her, like, that's going to matter. It's not to say you've got to forget about Toni Storm, because she's still one of your key players, but in this moment, at this time, I think, as Zach says here, I can't put it any better. The belt collector collects the big belt, and I'm with him on that. Tyler, over to you.
Yeah, I agree with you. Not much to add on the build. It has felt like ever since, Mercedes has won the ON, that I'm about the same spot I was at that moment. Like, maybe I would peak a little bit, and then it would dip a little bit, and then I kind of just get back to level. Especially with last night, it was fine. The chemistry issues. Also, Mercedes is she just not a 1-for-1 remake of Kenny Omega as world champion at this point?
Oh,
like putting on incredible matches, kind of confused and aloof as a character, and obviously collecting belts, the same sort of thing there too. And ultimately, hopefully not a forgettable run besides the matches. But that's how I feel about Kenny as champion, at least not bell to bell, is just not. So that's kind of where I am. And just doing such different things. It's like two people doing two different dances on the same dance floor, and you're supposed to be like, oh, this dance is really good. It's well, it's just it's at a wedding, right? Someone's doing one thing, someone's doing the other thing, and it just is not connecting. On you're trying to tell the belt collector story, but Tony's more just doing her thing and not saying why none of those belts matter. Last night, she should have talked about why she has those other 7 belts, but there's a reason she wants the one belt that Tony has, and why that belt is the most important. To not really hit that. Have they hit that at all? I can't remember any time where they've done that.
The only thing that they did yesterday was Tony goes, you have all those belts, but mine's the best.
Yeah, but
that's it.
That's not. Yeah, that's you should. That's kind of boilerplate stuff. You should. I don't know. The Tony character can get into the psyche of a Mercedes, of someone Mariah May was Icarus, right? In a story perspective, she flew too close to the sun, and she never was seen again in AEW because she turned on Toni Storm. And you don't have to say that explicitly, but that's more the depth of what people like. It was. It just hasn't connected. I think that's the big problem.
And who do you got to win?
I've got Mercedes as well.
Mercedes as well. Got some debate going on in the chat here. I'm surprised at the Mercedes not hate, but just dislike. Sean says here, I don't think Tony is winning. Sean also says Mercedes having all the belts is so dumb. Yeah, and how much material can she have for a character like this? That can be an issue. I'm not sure if that's directed towards Toni Storm or towards Mercedes Moné, Sean, but appreciate it. And then Andrew H says, well, first of all, Mercedes sucks, and Tony's the gold standard as far as characters are concerned. Yeah, I look, I don't think Mercedes sucks. I mean, seriously, like, I think from a match perspective, when it comes time for the bell to ring on Saturday afternoon, I think everybody's going to be more excited than they are right now for this match, because you're going to get a high level, state of the art Mercedes Moné Toni Storm match, and I think people are going to be excited about that when it happens. Build, though, as far as on the microphone goes, I think a believability factor. Like, this is where I think I disagree, Andrew. Like, because she's not believable, that's my disconnect. Andrew says, I don't know, man. Like, I always go to the age old analysis of, like, if you were to see Mercedes Moné like at Walmart, like, who would she be? And I feel like she would, like, I get the sense that she would be the same as she is now, a little obnoxious, dressed to the nines, and a little obnoxious. Like, I kind of think she hits the perfect note as far as her authenticity goes. So I don't know where you're at on that, Tyler, but you may not like the character, and people may not like the actual person, but to me, like, I don't know, like, that's who you'd get if you saw her at a supermarket.
Yeah, I mean, an eccentric for sure.
Yeah,
is what you would see. Not a top of the line star athlete.
mm-hmm.
It'd be like, I don't know. I mean, hopefully you wouldn't see her at Walmart, right? I think her character would determine that she's not.
Yeah, that'd punch a big hole in it. Yes.
But I think eccentric and someone who you would be like, oh, I hope they don't talk to me, because I know I'm going to be like dragged into some conversation for way too long that I don't care about.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, how I would feel if I saw her in public.
Yeah.
And it's certainly heelish, but it feels like she hasn't changed one iota of her character, and it just is a heel now, which is like an interesting choice that hasn't worked, obviously.
Yeah. All right, then let's go to the other main event, I guess, or the other, like, big match of the big three. I guess it's big four, but Kazuchika Okada against Kenny Omega for the AEW Continental Championship, the AEW International Championship. Those things are going to be unified into the AEW Unified Championship. And I'm going to go first on this one because I'm going to heap just praise. Before I heap praise, I wish they would have done something yesterday on Dynamite, whether it was Omega in the ring for like a go home babyface promo or Don Callis for a go home heel promo. I think you wanted something for this match, like to drive it across the finish line. I think that was a missed opportunity. Mm-hmm. That said, I honestly think that Tony Khan played this about as perfectly as you could want, with having so many masters to serve on it. Because look, Okada and Omega, like, this is why you signed Okada. If you're Tony, you sign him so you can do this match, and now you're doing it. And are you getting the most out of it? And I really think that they are on multiple levels. I think they've given enough credence and enough context to the historical significance of this match happening again. I think they've tried to showcase why it's important, and the reason why the rivalry is so legendary and why the matches are so legendary. I think that they've checked that box. And I think they've also, at the same time, checked the box of, if you don't care about any of that stuff, can you still get behind this match as a big deal in just 2025? And I think they've been able to carve out a mini story for those fans too, that just are watching AEW now. And that's a tough line to balance. You don't want to just be nostalgia, but you don't want to just be current and forget about all of their history either. I mean, you really, I think, needed to blend this. And I give Tony Khan props here, because I think at a different time, I think if you do this match 2 years ago, I think he misses a lot with it. And maybe he either leans too much into nostalgia or not enough. And I think the balance was perfect here. I think the balance was perfect. I don't think we're going to get a match that's as good as the ones that they had in 2017, 2018, or whenever that was, 2016. Like, I have recalibrated my brain to expect something a little bit different. And I am trying to be open to the potential of that this match could and should look different than those other matches. They've talked about their age. They've talked about the wear and tear on their bodies. Like, I think a mistake for them would be to go out and try to have the same match that they had together back in New Japan. Like, have a different match. I think you can do different things and emphasize other parts of the match in order to make it really, really good. So I think it's going to be a good match. I think it's going to be a different match, and you need to alter your expectations, in my opinion. And I will pick a winner here in a second. But go ahead on the build and the just overall kind of presentation of, you know, what is clearly a match Tony Khan has wanted to do for a long time.
Yeah. I think the build has matched kind of my expectations for what this will be in the ring. You know, I expect this to be like a 4.25, 4.5 kind of match, which is nothing to sneeze at. But, you know, something with like a lot of big spots, a lot of huge moments. Definitely, like, of all the matches on the show, the one I don't want to follow.
Yeah.
Depends. If they do like the triple main event thing, like Tony and Mercedes after this, I don't know if that's a good idea. I would do some Adam Cole, Kyle Fletcher after this sort of thing.
That's
if I'm being honest with you.
That's just mean.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. We're going to talk about it last for a reason, right? So that's where I'm on it. I mean, I think it's just kind of playing up like the legacy of it, and it's kind of the thing, like, too, like if you're watching TV and you're a person who watches TV but doesn't pay for the event, like, they are not. This is like kind of what you get. I think it's like not even in like mean Tony Khan, but like a way of like, hey, you got to pay for this to check it out, and if you're not going to see it, maybe you'll see some highlights later, etc. But that's kind of how I feel the build has been, and for that segment of the audience, like, basically you're either going to be super hyped for this with no build, and that's kind of how it's went out. But yeah, I mean, Okada with the Callis family hasn't been my favorite aspect of this, but I do like this version of Okada better than him with the Bucks and just calling everybody a bitch everywhere. So I think that's been an improvement. And like, do we have clarification on this belt? Like, it's the unification title. Is that what it's called? The unified title?
Unified title, yes.
And that is like both these titles and those titles are now defunct, right?
So here's the official word.
Okay.
This is from Tony Khan in the press conference yesterday. So make from that what you will. But there is going to be a unified champion. There is a unified championship belt, which we've seen. But he said he doesn't necessarily expect the winner of this match to stop walking around with the other title belts.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
He said that he doesn't expect the winner to necessarily walk around without the other title belts, even though they've won this title belt. So, you know, it leaves open the possibility that you can break those off again. But nothing has been confirmed one way or the other outside of what I just mentioned about the winner possibly walking around with all three.
Word salad for no reason, but that doesn't surprise me with belts and Tony Khan being a combination.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, that's, I guess, that's a post all in.
Yeah.
Discussion. But yeah, I mean, I think the Callis thing gives you pause on the hero getting the victory, etc., and that could be a red herring. So I like that as well, right? I think the Mercedes match is fairly clear, but this and the main event are not clear, and I like that. But I am going with Okada for a couple of reasons that you seem to agree with by that head.
I'm going to Okada too. What are your reasons?
So it's just one of those things. It seems like he's more able to work on a consistent basis than Kenny is, for obvious reasons. And just another reason to, unify the titles. And as Zach has disappeared, as I look down back at my screen, which I'm sure I'll reiterate this again to him, but it feels like that unification title is like a slow play of Tony deciding if that's a secondary world title or if it's, you have 3 secondary titles. So do you merge that with the TNT title and make it a true second world title? If that's the case, Okada's the better one to do that with, especially if you consider Adam Page winning the other world title and having a face heel for people to go against as well. Yeah, and Derek in the chat, pop him up here. Thank you, Derek. Saying that some heels have to win, not all baby faces can win. I think it's a good opportunity for that too, and sets up. They're both saying last time ever, etc. If Callis screws over Kenny, it gives a reason to do a rematch within AEW if that feels right at some point to do a clean victory for Kenny Omega. But yeah, so just feels like one of those things. So I will filibuster until Zach reappears here, but he picked Okada as well. So I've got that written down. So so far, I've got Paige, Mercedes, and Kazuchika Okada winning, and Zach has the same three. I know Adam Kidd in the chat has Moxley winning. I don't know if I saw anyone say that Tony was going to win here. It feels pretty clear Mercedes is going to win, and then I don't know if anyone feels strongly if Kenny's going to win this either. But like Andrew in the chat says, Okada has had a signature moment since joining the company. He genuinely needs this. And I would agree, right? Like, besides calling people bitches and winning the Continental Classic, I guess, even though that doesn't have the prestige of a G1 by any stretch of the imagination, then, yeah, I mean, this would be his biggest moment by far. So it feels like a good opportunity for him. And to, like, really push forward on, hey, let's do, like, an Okada run where he's a focal point of the show post this Kenny thing. And Kenny as a babyface can still do lots of good stuff and doesn't have to win. Okada more needs to win to do this, I would say. So, but it just makes me laugh with the terrible thing. And then Sports Talk with Adam pops up and says, I think Omega needs to win to validate everything. Of his life, Austin, or of the story? Probably the story is what you meant, I would say. But yeah, I mean, it definitely seems an important take for him to win this and to establish himself. What does that look like on the other end, especially for like a belt to be established? You have like the Orange Cassidy babyface version of establishing a belt. I think more often than not, as you see with in modern wrestling, Roman Reigns, Jon Moxley, Gunther, having a heel in the future, Seth Rollins, John Cena, whether it works or not, like having a heel run with that thing, build it up, and make it a big moment for that babyface. Obviously, right? A tale as old as time. That's not just modern wrestling, but feels like the move if you want to establish that as hopefully a valid, unified, actual unification title to tell that story. So happy. And Zach is back at the perfect time.
I'm back. What did I miss?
Just me filibustering on Okada and Omega. So you're good. You got your pick in there. I don't know if you want anything else you want to finish on that.
I think Okada just needs to win. I think like Kenny's Kenny at this point, and I mean he's a big star for the company, but I don't think he's a guy who's going to have like a run, like an impactful run like Moxley is having. Yeah, but I think Okada could. I think that chapter is still unwritten for him, and so you might as well do that here. And I think that's what they'll do.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Let's keep it going. We'll breeze through some of these undercard matches. Men's Casino Gauntlet match. The announced participants that we know of currently: Mark Briscoe, MJF, Ricochet, and Mystico. I'm going to take MJF in this one. And I'm taking MJF because I think Adam Page is going to win, and he's going to need a heel opponent to work against. And I think that makes sense. They've started to set the table for that in various backstage segments throughout the past couple months. They've had one match together, but they haven't had more than that. So I think MJF gets the victory here. Now, I think if Darby Allin gets the victory here, man, that is gonna That would be just tremendous for the drama of the collective show. So I give you that, Tyler, but I'll take MJF.
Yeah, and Darby's like certainly the last person to come out, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's the drama of the show, and 2 OG guys, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Darby was signed after the first Double or Nothing, right?
Correct. But he was on like that Fight for the Fallen.
Yes. So. Where he got tied up with Jericho, or is that a different show?
I think he worked Cody, I think.
Okay. The crazy times, no TV, and you're doing shows. Wow,
yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, I mean that's I already spoiled it. So you have MJF, which makes total sense too, for like a direction that kind of more is like classic AEW to me, of like Vince posting of like him and Adam Page for the title, and like Page can certainly lose that on the first defense, which I think is a compelling story to go to. Mm-hmm. Not have him take on, I don't know, Shelton Benjamin for the first title defense or something.
Right.
So,
Kesha or something.
Yeah. So, yeah, I like that. But I'm going to go with Darby just for, I do think like Tony's going to very much enjoy messing with people in the middle. And then like Page and Darby is certainly a match you can do. Or, as I said earlier a little bit, I didn't get to talk with you, like Okada winning that unification title and potentially making that a true secondary world title. Like, what if Darby picks Okada and like they try and really push that thing as like a world title? That could also be a good option here.
Yeah. And it also, we didn't talk about this, but here, I'm going to go to Sean here. She's a gold member. Says, I think Okada should win because he does need to beat a big contender. If Okada loses, could he go after Hangman? So, yeah, that's a possibility. But I also think if Okada wins the Unified Championship, he's a heel. And if Will Ospreay and Swerve lose, they could go after the Unified Championship, like opposite Okada. Mm-hmm. when they're not going after the World Championship. So that could be something there too.
Yeah.
All right. Women's Casino Gauntlet. We have 2 announced participants, the number 1 and 2 folks, Chris Statlander and Megan Bain. We did have a question from Derek Mitchell here, which I want to get to. Derek asks, is there a reason why Mystico is pictured on the graphic with MJF and Briscoe being the number 1 and number 2 entry? Yeah, just because he's in it. That's the reason. He's announced.
Sell some tickets in Dallas.
Yeah, sell some tickets in Dallas, and yeah, he's in the match. So Ricochet was there too. So that's why, Derek. The women's field, I think, is a little bit more open than the men's one is. But I will take Chris Statlander. I'm going to take Statlander really just because of Mercedes getting the nod to beat Tony Storm. So when I pick that, it's like I feel like I have to pick Statlander. Willow makes sense too, I think, in that regard, Zach. So I think you could run that back. But Statlander and Monet have backstory. They've got history, and Statlander's involved currently in this kind of like will she or won't she thing with Marina Shafir. So she's getting some TV time. So I'll take Statlander.
Yeah,
you can pick the field here if you want to.
Yeah, okay, I will take that if I can
take that.
Because I'm trying to think of anyone I can't think of that like hasn't, this is a good appearance, like reappearance thing, but I assume Ruby Soho's had her kid, and like is she ready to come back? Like something like that.
Yeah.
Did Britt Baker work us all with the dirt sheets? And she appears out of nowhere and wins this thing and takes on Mercedes, and they get that rematch. Obviously that's a joke. But yeah, it feels like I'm missing something here that I can't put my finger on. So I'll happily take the field. You can have Statlander and Willow, and I'll take the field if that makes you feel better.
All right. Yeah. I mean, that does kind of make me feel better.
Okay.
Sean says here, Athena needs to win, but she also needs to get rid of the ROH title. Well, yeah, she does need to get. I wouldn't give her this win until she does get rid of the ROH world title. So that's my take on that.
Maybe on Friday.
Who
is she fighting? I don't know, but maybe that'll happen.
She's fighting Thunder Rosa.
Okay, well maybe it'll happen. Who knows?
Yes. All right, then let's go to the AEW World Tag Team Championship match. They're on the line. Hurt Syndicate defending against poor Jet Speed and the Patriarchy in a triple threat match. This is just sad for Jet Speed. This is sad for them, man. Like, they're getting treated like baby faces who are going to get their big comeuppance victory, except I don't think they're going to get the big comeuppance victory. So they're just the poor, woeful baby faces that get beat down by the big bully heels. I got Hurt Syndicate here. I think that you're going to get some storyline development with the Patriarchy. I think you may see Nick Wayne finally stand up to Christian Cage, and so you can start to end whatever that is. Mm-hmm. But Jet Speed isn't beating Hurt Syndicate, right? I mean, the Hurt Syndicate are like a top 5 act in AEW. You know, I mean, they're big, whether you like them or not. They're a big part of the show every week. They're not going to job out to little old Jet Speed. I just don't see that happening. Hurt Syndicate, firm opinion on that here.
Yes, agreed. And it's weird that it is a three-way, not just add FTR in there.
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, I guess we'll see if it's an FTR and Outrunners match on the show. But that's like the only intriguing part of this is like, is Cope involved in this with Christian? Is this a way to get them together? Do you set up? Yeah, because when's All Out? Is that August? Is that next month?
August, yeah.
Yeah, like, don't you want to get that ready for the show in
Toronto? Or no, I think it's September because I think there's an August Forbidden Door.
Forbidden Door, okay. It's like, you don't have to do it here, but you want to get that ball rolling of Cope and Christian getting back together.
Yeah.
So this seems like the place to do it. Like, if I'm Cope, I'd rather be in the main event helping the good guys, but you're probably more slotted in this spot. So.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
Hurt Syndicate also, obviously.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think you get some storyline development here, but other than that, like, I don't know what to tell you. If you're a Jet Speed fan, this is not a good spot for you or for them.
Yeah, all two of you are in for a rough.
That's not very nice, but true. All right, Adam Cole against Kyle Fletcher for the TNT Championship. Adam Cole is back on pay-per-view for AEW singles match.
The two men who almost ruined the whole thing are on this show. What a benevolent overlord Tony Khan is.
That's right. It's still odd to see Adam Cole in this spot, but it's the right spot. This is where he is now. And I think, can he work himself back up? Absolutely he can. Will he? I don't know. But this is a good spot for him right now in 2025. It's not where you thought he'd be when you signed him in 2021, but it's where he is. And so I think it's good to see people in the spots that they should be in and not like overreaching. And this is Adam Cole. This is Adam Cole. Can he have a good match with Kyle Fletcher? He can. Absolutely he can. I mean, Kyle Fletcher is a really great wrestler. Adam Cole usually is too. But on this show, I think this is a filler match, as you already articulated. I think Adam Cole is going to retain the title here. And I think you'll see Tony Khan kind of work hard to keep trying to repair Cole and get Cole back. It sucks that it kind of has to be at the expense of Fletcher, because I think Fletcher arguably has like a bigger upside than Adam Cole at this point. But Cole still can, I think, valuable in the eyes of Tony Khan. So I'm going to take Cole here. But this is a filler match at some point to bring the crowd down from something big.
Yeah. It is what it is. They've tried to tell the story. I'm glad it's not a three-way. I actually watched Collision last week, and I talked about it on the show.
Yeah, I can't believe someone watched.
Yeah, so, I was like, just like, if this potentially having Daniel Garcia in there too would have been like, really, I would have really crapped on this big time. So they made the right call there. Well, here's the one thing with this match. I hope it's just like a straight up win for Fletcher. It's not the way I see it. Like, what does Don Callis love more than anything except for ruining Kenny Omega's life in character? What's his second favorite thing? Not pointy shoes either. That's like the third thing I would say.
Let's see. Talking about how good Kyle Fletcher is?
No, I would say collecting jobbers. He loves having
that one. I would not have guessed that one.
He loves having like 8 guys who can take a pinfall at any time for his group. So I can see some sort of like Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong being, screwing over Cole and going to the dark side sort of thing here. I think Fletcher should just beat him, but you probably have some Paragon issues because of Callis. So that's something.
So, but who are you taking though?
Oh, Fletcher, yeah.
Easily. Fletcher for sure.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, that'll be fun to watch this happen. Zach says here Fletcher needs to win the title.
Did you pick Cole?
I picked Cole.
Okay.
I'm picking Cole.
I think
Cole's on
a free win for me.
I think he's on the repair train. I think not that I would put him there, but I think that's where he is. I think he's on the repair.
I think Fletcher. I mean, the only thing here is like I think that TNT title needs to merge with that unification title sooner rather than later if that's going to be a serious thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, that'd be good too. I mean, that'd be fine.
Yeah, I think Fletcher going against Legion more than anything. Like Cole and Okada you could build to for a unification thing, I guess. So that would be more towards your side, but I don't know if that's the goal either. So
I think I don't know. At this point, like the TNT title is so it's just so meaningless at this point where it's like I think it's better. It's better for like Kyle Fletcher not to win it. I mean, truly, like I think if Fletcher is a guy, right, and he's going to be like a player at all, like I don't think you want to belt him up with the TNT title just to get a belt around his waist. Like to me, that's like beneath Fletcher at this point, or beneath his potential. Whereas with Cole, like I think if you just let Cole hold that belt for a year, like you can help repair him, you can help repair the belt, and it doesn't bring anybody else down because Cole's already pretty far down. So that's my argument, that it's like it's not so much anti-Fletcher, it's like pro-Fletcher, and please don't put this belt on me.
Yeah.
All right. And last but not least, we've got the big tag team match, the Young Bucks and their EVP titles on the line against Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay, with their world title opportunities on the line for the next year. What do you think, Tyler? Where are you going on this, and what do you think of the build?
Yeah, I already alluded to this. I think this is, again, more tied to a little bit of a Carney job here. I think this other title is going to be a world title. So you can have like Ospreay and Swerve go after Okada. Once they lose this match, they just can't go for the Moxley Page title. And that's a way to like have basically the WWE style, which does work, right? Like I think we would both prefer one world title in WWE, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
But like it's been going on mainly for about 20 years that you've had 2 world titles. There's a time in there where you don't, but it can work, and you can build things differently, and it gives like more opportunity for. And there's enough talent in AEW to make it work, and to actually make Collision feel like a show you have to watch if there's a certain champion on that show,
right, yeah,
etc. Like I think that's like a huge thing for Tony to realize, but yeah, it's just I think it seems so obvious that Ospreay and Swerve are not going to not be able to go for that world title for a year, that they did that on purpose, and it's going to be like a huge blow. And like obviously there's so many ways you can go with that, like Swerve being pissed at Will Ospreay, that's its own series of matches that can come from that. Ospreay again not winning the big one, and like what does that mean for him and his character, and like would I rather him face Page? Like if Page wins, you're already not going to have those 2 guys go for that title for 6 months anyway. So I know it sounds like crazy to be like, hey, they can't go for the world title for a year, but depending what probably happens, they're probably already slotted for that anyway. So it's the way to get like heat for the Bucks, heat for Jungle Boy when he comes in, and to have position those guys towards Okada, and like Okada, Ospreay, Okada, Swerve. Those are huge matches for a belt that people will care about if Okada beats one or both those guys on the way to defending that thing. and Kenny can be there to help them, all sort of stuff. So I think it makes more sense like post All In for them to lose, them being Ospreay and Swerve. It's a shock moment. I think it'll be negatively viewed in the moment, but positively viewed like 6 months after.
Interesting. I'm taking Ospreay and Swerve here. Not what you lay out makes sense. I just don't think it's a good idea to take your two top stars out of like world title contention. I'm almost picking this as just not necessarily because I just don't think it will happen, but just because like I just don't think it should happen. I don't think it should happen. I don't think you want that. I think if Paige is champion, like a Swerve Paige matchup is something that you do want to build towards within the next year. There's a lot of money in that feud. Same thing with Ospreay and Paige. I mean, they both helped him win the title, yes, but now you got to turn it around. My main reason for picking Ospreay and Swerve here is the Young Bucks EVP thing. Like I just don't think like if that had legs right now, or if that was impactful outside of the fact that the Young Bucks just use that as like their name, then maybe you could keep it going. But to me, it's like, they don't really do anything with it. They haven't like done enough legwork on why the EVP thing matters so much. They say it, they tell you that, oh, they're so obnoxious with those EVP titles, but really all they do is like, okay, maybe 1 week they'll make you run out there and do a match early, but it's not anything significant. And so I kind of think they just wrap up that storyline, and EVPs go away. That's my pick.
I mean, that makes the most sense. It just seems so like I know they needed a gimmick, and then the moment I felt like, okay, this is their gimmick for the match. But it does feel like, I don't know, just so out of the blue to not have a plan in place. It just feels like more likely that it's.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. I mean, you're right about that. Yeah.
So we'll see. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, honestly, because it gives more flexibility. I was trying to defend my point of having the Bucks win, but
you did well.
I will be cheering for Swerve and Ospreay to win for sure.
All right, there you have it, guys. All In 2025. We will have a full review show of this over the weekend for you guys on All In. So for our members, so if you want to check out our membership, patreon.com/Brass Ring Media. Again, this is the week to do it. Give it a shot. We will do all we can to earn your business. Member only shows, pay-per-view review shows, and so much more for our members this weekend on a busy weekend in professional wrestling. Tyler, last question. Mm-hmm. What is going to be the match of the night?
I'll say Kenny and Okada.
Okay. I'll say the main event. I'm going to say the main event. I think they're going to get the main event right and do that. If you're watching live, drop in the comments. What's the match of the night? Let's hear it. Thank you all so much for joining us. I appreciate it. It's going to be a crazy weekend. It's going to be a fun weekend. A lot of wrestling to go around. So hopefully you guys all enjoy it. Keep it locked here to Brass Ring Media for the Kick-Ash podcast on Saturday morning. It'll be your last preview for All In and for Evolution and for everything else that's happening this weekend. Ashley's got you locked down and taken care of. Once again, that's the Kick-Ash podcast this weekend on Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, right here. Tomorrow, Dominic D'Angelo of Brass Ring Media has a Mark Briscoe interview dropping right here on the YouTube channel. Dominic's a great interviewer, so don't miss this. Don't miss this one. You're going to want to see it. Tell your friends, subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. Tyler, any final words?
No, I'm excited to watch that. Having interviewed Mark and Jay before, where we lost the audio, it was a great. Only 4 people ever were part of that interview or heard it. I really liked that segment last night with MJF and Mark Briscoe. I think Mark Briscoe is like a step above what like Orange Cassidy had been for the company of that sort of very pivotal babyface role, the Sami Zayn, the whoever in history. It's always an important character. So I really, really, really like that segment. I know didn't talk any Dynamite because we're previewing, but I really like that segment.
I did too. Yeah, I did too. And Yeah, there's chemistry between those guys.
Mhm.
Like they, you know, if you weren't planning on having like a showdown match between those two, I think you should be now because you know, yeah, they're going to collide in the Casino Battle Royal or Gauntlet, and that's great. But you know, I think that you take it a little bit further just because of how good it's been.
Yeah.
So I agree with you on that. Once again, thank you to our gold members, Sean Plickta and Adam Kidd. We appreciate it. Thank you to our super chatter. Thank you to Tracy for the super chat. And for everybody who joined us, Derek and Zach and Sean and Joshua and everybody else in the live chat. We do appreciate it. We will talk to you guys very, very soon. Enjoy All In. Enjoy the WWE shows. Enjoy it all. It's going to be a busy one. And we'll catch you here real, real soon. Later.